I've trained hundreds of dogs, and the most common issues I see are insecure or reactive dogs. If you want to get ahead of those problems, these are the top 10 things to do with your puppy to expose them to get ahead of those issues. This type of training helps your dog adapt to new stimuli better, building confidence, and also building a lot of resilience in your puppy. If you do this training while your dog is young, a puppy, you can get ahead of all of these issues that cause insecurity, reactivity, and a lack of confidence. So the first thing we should be exposing our young puppy to is general leash pressure as well as corrections. If our dog learns from a very young age that they feel pressure, yes, that their response is to come back to us, we can communicate with our dog in all different situations and areas and environments throughout the rest of their dog's life. And if our dog understands corrections, that they're doing something wrong, yes, good boy. We can communicate with our dog that they are doing something wrong in different situations, and our dog can live a lot clearer and happier life. So introduce your dog to corrections as well as leash pressure. We have tons of videos on how to do it. So the next thing we're going to be exposing our puppy to is loud noises that happen all the time. One example is a leaf blower. We want our dog to understand a leaf blower. It's not a bad thing. It's not a big, scary machine. It's not gonna hurt you. Another thing, while we're outside, is a lawnmower. Yes, all we're doing is forming a positive association with these noises. We can take 5 or 10 minutes every time we bring a instrument like this outside and just work with our dog. Within a session or two, our dog will understand that these things are not very bad things. We can start it, we can move it around. Yes, Stewie, come here. Come on, buddy, come on. Yes. And you can now see how leash pressure and corrections are helping us control him and communicate with him. But introducing these things outside, we'll move inside and show you a couple other things. Another loud noise that we need to expose our dog to from a young age is a vacuum. A vacuum shouldn't be a big deal. We're gonna walk around and we can vacuum things. I don't know if you can hear me, but this shouldn't be a big scary thing. We bring the vacuum out, that means good things are happening. Good boy, right? Another thing we can do, we can run the vacuum and pay him at the same time. Form a positive association. Yes. If we do this while our puppy is really young, our dog will never be scared of these things. Here's another example of a noise that we should be exposing our dog to, but it's a different type of noise. Those are consistent, loud noises. This is going to be a sudden loud noise. Yes, right? But the more we introduce our dog to these things, make sure they're not too scared of these things. Here's a little hex head, wrench. Not a big deal, right? These things happen all the time. If our dog is young, they don't have as much of a fear response. It's a lot easier to teach our dog these things don't really mean much. Yet another noise for you guys is knocking on the door, as well as ringing the doorbell. That is something, if we constantly expose our dogs to, it's not gonna be a big deal when someone knocks on the door or rings the doorbell. It's not gonna be a big situation. Again, do this at a young age, our puppy will be totally desensitized to it. The third thing to expose your dog to is a very general one, but it has to do with just people and dogs in general. One thing, start off with, I'm gonna let Dewey sit here and look out the door, watch people walk by all the time, so he knows it's not a serious thing if someone's walking in the front yard. When the mailman or woman comes, we're gonna let them just look, right? It's not a big deal. We form positive association with these things. Dogs walking by, you shouldn't be growling or barking at all these different things. That's one really easy thing. Another really easy thing to work with your dog on is general greeting manners. If our dog jumps on people when they are 8, 10, 12 weeks old, they're gonna jump on people their whole life. But if we make it clear, when our dog is young, we don't jump on people. When we say hi to people, we sit, and that's how we get attention. It's a hoot, he just dropped his toy in the water bowl. We'll keep moving on. But something really important for your dog to understand is, just general manners. You meet people, you meet dogs. There's a right way and a wrong way. We need to make it clear what's right and what's wrong on day one. Another thing that we need to practice with our puppy while they are young is being outside around dogs and around people but not necessarily always playing with them. That is one of the main causes of reactivity, is from a young age, a dog sees another dog and they want to play. And they get in the habit, every time they see a dog, it means play, and it builds frustration, and then the dog becomes reactive. So something we're going to work on more often than not. We don't say hi to other dogs. Sometimes we will, occasionally, but the vast majority of the time, more than 90% of the time, we don't say hi to other dogs. Other dogs, they don't mean much. We're desensitizing it. If it doesn't mean much, he's not going to care. He's not going to become reactive. It's another thing, meeting people, meeting dogs, being around dogs that are playing, but we're not playing. It's all about socialization with people and with dogs. It's a really helpful tip for you guys. We'll move on to the next one. The fourth thing we need to expose our dog to is a crate. On day one, if we bring our dog home and they go in a crate, the crate is their home. We feed them in the crate. They play in their crate. The crate is a positive, fun experience. The crate should be their room. Our dog is going to love their crate, and we have to generalize it. Dewey will go in his crate automatically on his own? Yes. And every time I catch him on his own going into his crate, he gets a big payment. But it's not as easy as just doing that. Another thing we have to practice is him being in his crate, obviously with the door shut and me not being there. Something really important. Again, not that simple though. Another thing, when we're generalizing our crate command, is me saying hi to other dogs and him being in his crate. This should be a positive association. We're still paying him for this. This is great, right? Another thing that we have to do is just hang out near his crate. Sit around, him not get attention, him just sit there as I'm doing things. The last and final part of generalizing our crate is, gonna place, putting our dog's crate in tons of different places. I'm gonna put it all over my house. When I go to a friend's house, I'm bringing a crate, and the crate is going to be generalized in any situation. A lot of dogs, they know that their crate is their crate in their owner's bedroom, or wherever their crate usually is. But the second you move the crate somewhere else, the dog goes berserk. And that's something we want him to understand, that crate means crate no matter where you are. If it's here, if it's over there, if it's outside, wherever it is. So when we generalize the crate command, our dog will understand it, and crate training is gonna go very quickly, and it opens up so many doors for us. So the fifth thing I am exposing my dog to from a young age, it might sound really small and really simple and not like a big deal, but is going to be running at him out of nowhere suddenly. Because I noticed when he was young, when I first got him a couple weeks ago, I ran up to him once to grab his leash because he was peeing. I didn't want him to pee on the leash, and he started freaking out. So we need to generalize this. It'll help him build confidence and understand it's not a big deal if I just run at him suddenly. Yes. He cried a little bit. I don't know if you heard that, but I'm gonna do this occasionally, just out of the blue. Yes. It's okay. I'd rather him think of it as a game, and I'd rather that over him being really scared of it. Yes. See, just three little quick bursts at him, and he now is a lot more comfortable with it. I'm gonna be doing this regularly. It'll help your dog build a lot of confidence. Let's move on to the sixth thing. Number 6, this is going to be thresholds. Thresholds are a lot of different situations. One's gonna be a crate, one's gonna be a front door, one's gonna be getting in and out of the car, whatever it may be. There's a ton of thresholds. The first one and most easy, because you are crate training your dog, is just opening the door does not mean your dog is now free. The door being open means you sit there and wait until you are invited out. Dewey, Fry. That is when he's allowed to come out. Just because the door opens does not mean that he gets to do that. The next really helpful thing for you is going to be the front door. That is another threshold. I'm gonna walk out. No. Yes, he needs to understand I'm not gonna ask him to do anything. I'm just gonna open the door. Just because the door opens does not mean you get to bolt out. This is a really helpful one that, if everyone did this with a puppy, would save a ton of lives, because a lot of dogs I work with, the front door opens, the crate door opens, they bolt out, and it can create a lot of dangerous situations. So just because the front door opens and I'm going outside, does not mean he gets to go outside. We're gonna continue practicing that. It'll save your dog's life. So 7 is going to be basic grooming and care. If we do this with our dog when they're really young, before they really develop a bigger fear response when they're older, it's gonna be something that's gonna set your dog up for life. We've got 2 different types of nail clippers. One is a electric Dremel, and the other one is just an actual physical nail clipper for dogs. We've got a brush that we're gonna be introducing our dog to. We're gonna introduce our dog to baths or showers or whatever we do with our dog. All these things, and also, right, touching our dog's paws. When we do this when they're young, they get a good understanding of it. We are forming a positive association with all of these things, right? Just because the Dremel, I'm touching your paws, we're gonna bring it near, right? That means good. We don't wanna create a fearful response. If we create fear from this, our dog's gonna be scared of it, and it's gonna be a lot harder when they're older to do these basic things. So let's just, right, yes. So Dewey freaked out a little bit there, right? He's like, I don't like this. And I didn't, there's kind of a happy medium. Yeah. There's a happy medium between giving in to your dog when they freak out and pushing them, right? We want to push our dog. We don't want to teach them that this means bad and that the way they get out of it is to just freak out. But we also don't want them to be really, really scared of it and freak out. So, you know, another thing we can do, some dogs, we could just clip their nails, right? We'll do this with Dewey. Boom, clipped it. Yes. Every time he clips a nail, he gets paid. That means good, right? Nail clipping is not a bad thing. Another thing is the brush. Talked about that. Yes. When we brush him, that means good things, right? We're forming a positive association with all of these things. His head, he thinks it's a game, that's okay. But his head, his body, his paws, his legs. We're going to use a little bit of, nope. Show him that this is not a toy. No. No. Yes. But we're forming a positive association with all these things. The more we do this, the better our dog is going to be and the more well-suited they're gonna be to live a happy life. He is very vocal, but just like that, yes. Good boy, right? We're pushing him through these situations to make him a more well-rounded, happy dog. These things aren't all gonna go smooth, super easy, and now you're seeing firsthand how some things are just a little harder with some dogs. Yes, he's learning that crying and whining does not get him out of these things. Do another paw. Flip this around. Yes, good. Right, these things all mean good. It is now a lot easier for me to do it than it was three minutes ago. Yes. Yes. There you go. He doesn't get out of it by freaking out. Something really helpful, do the same thing with baths, make a positive association, but don't, you know, you gotta push your dog a little bit, not too hard. There's a balance you need to find with your dog. The eighth thing we are exposing our dog to is getting in and out of the car, as well as driving around, being in the car. When our dog is young, they need to be used to being in the car. The car should be a really positive experience for him. We're not gonna leave Dewey in here for too long because it is pretty hot out and the car is baking a little bit, but this is a positive association. Every time he's in his car, he's getting paid. Great things are happening. We're also getting him used to getting in and out of the car. Most people don't have a truck that is this high, but if you have a smaller car that's low to the ground, you can start getting your dog used to jumping in and out of your car at a very young age. Yes, good. The more you do this, the better off your dog is gonna be, and your dog is going to learn to start getting in their car on their own, as well as not being anxious in the car. That is something that dogs really often struggle with, is their owners don't drive them anywhere for the first month or 2 or 3 or 4 of their life. Suddenly they get in a car. It's this crazy thing that is really hard for a dog. But if we do it when they're young, their mind is more of a sponge, it's gonna be a lot easier for them. So do that in and out of the car, as well as driving around in the car. Another thing we need to expose our puppy to when they are young is jumping on and off of things. I am talking a place board, stairs, on different surfaces, a couch. I don't know if you're gonna allow your dog to get on and off the couch, but if your dog is allowed on the couch, building the confidence of jumping up on things, following lures, that's something really helpful. Getting him to jump up, yes, right? But the more we can build confidence of him being on uneven surfaces, like a good example, we're probably not taking our puppy this young to Lowe's or Home Depot, but those carts that push around, something really helpful, introduce your dog to that when they are of the age and have the obedience. Right? I mean, literally anything. Teaching your dog to jump on and off things on command, not on their own, but on command, it's going to make them a much more well-rounded, happier dog. And there's going to be situations down the road where you're going to want your dog to be on something or jump over something or jump through something. If you do this when they're young, you are pushing all the work at the beginning, very easy, and then your dog can do all these things without any stress or anxiety. The last and final thing to expose your dog to, it's honestly one of the most important, but it is to be picking up your dog. Get your dog used to being picked up, touched, put in different places, different situations, you know, being picked up and put into the car and picked up and brought out of the car. Dewey here, when I picked him up, he hated this position and he still doesn't love the position, but I do it all the time to make him comfortable with these situations. I might not need him to do something like this when he gets older as he's an adult, but having that ability where I can just pick him up and hold him, really helpful. Putting your dog down, right? Walking up to them and picking them up. There's a ton of situations we talked about in and out of the car. Perfect example of that, right? Your dog being used to being picked up, put down, touched, all of these things. Do it now. Your dog will thank you. Hope you found some of these things helpful. If you did, leave me a comment below. Go on Instagram, tag me in a video on your story. I might repost it. Who knows? But hit the subscribe button and we'll see you in the next one.